Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is again the end of the month and we're gonna do my July reading wrap up. I read a lot this month and I have them all here next to me. Some of them are still packed from a trip that I just got back from. I just got back from Maine, which that vlog should be going up next week. But I haven't unpacked yet. And I'm not gonna dig through my stuff to find the books. I'm sorry. So you're just gonna have to deal without it. Kate's here, as you can tell, trying to get comfortable. Hopefully when she gets comfortable, we'll be able to move on without hearing her. But we're just gonna start kind of chronologically. We're gonna start with the first book I did read this month, which was The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. And I gave this book 4 stars. This one is the first in like a series. I think the next one is like the Happily or Happy Ever After playlist. I have been really enjoying Abby Jimenez. I read Yours Truly last month and really enjoyed it. It was 5 stars, so I wanted to read some of her other books, and this was the one that I picked up. I really enjoyed it. It was 4 stars. It does deal with infertility, so keep that in mind if that's a trigger for you. But I thought she did handle it in a very good way. So that was the first book. Next, I have Once More with Feeling by Alyssa Sussman. This book was okay. I gave it 3 stars, which giving it 3 stars does not mean I don't recommend it and that you might not love it. It's very much giving like theater camp. If you are a theater girly or a Broadway girly, then this really might appeal to you. I love Broadway, but I was never like in the theater world growing up. So this wasn't quite hitting home for me. And I don't know, it is second chance romance. I hated the like reason why they broke up in the first place, and it was inexcusable to me. So for that reason, I'm giving it 3 stars. Next up, we have Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Last month, I read The X Talk by her in my rereading 5-star reads video. And I did end up moving that down from a 5 stars to a 4 stars, but I still really enjoyed it. So I was looking forward to her new book. And this one also earned a 4-star rating for me. It is definitely spicy, like much spicier than The X Talk, which I guess would make sense because basically the premise is that she has a bad like one-night stand, and through a series of events she ends up basically coaching this guy on how to be better at sex. So there's a lot of sex, but I did enjoy it, and I like Rachel Lynn Solomon's writing, and I will read other books by her when they come out. So this was 4 stars. Next, I have Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer, and this one was 3 stars for me. Again, I think I saw a few TikToks about it and was just like, read. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so I read it on Kindle Unlimited. It was low risk and it was medium reward. It's a hockey romance, which I generally love a hockey romance. So for that reason, it's a 3 stars. If it had been just like a businessman, I don't know if I would have given it 3 stars. It's a first in a series. I might pick up some of the other ones, but for now, Behind the Net, 3 stars. Next, we have Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. Again, last year, this is a book of the month book. This was my July book of the month book. And last year, The Bodyguard was one of my book of the month picks as well, and I gave that one 5 stars, so I was really looking forward to this one, and it did not disappoint. This was a 4-star read for me. Thought it was really good. I learned something, honestly, about like facial blindness and about that. And I thought it was interesting. It was a premise that was something different. A lot of like romance books, you tend to get kind of the same premisi over and over again. So I loved seeing something different, and I liked the main characters. So this is 4 stars for me. Well done, Catherine Center. Now we're going to a string of like pretty mediocre Kindle Unlimited books. I saw, again, a TikTok that was like, this is a spicy Princess Diaries. So I was like, oh, I like Princess Diaries and I would love a spicy version. It kind of oversold what this book was, which was royally not ready. But I do think in general the premise could be described as a spicy Princess Diaries. But it's very spicy. It's Meghan Quinn. The main characters are very into like choking. And it's long for a romance book. Like I believe that unless you're writing like something groundbreaking, this is fun. This does not need to be longer than 300 pages. This was like 500 pages. Too long. Again, I read it on my Kindle, but it was a little too long. It felt like it drug out a little bit. Also this month, I read the second one in this series. Even though I gave this one 2 stars, I still felt like I wanted to read the second one, which was called Royally in Trouble. Also 2 stars. This one, we got 50% through the book and I was like, this is the climax, right? Like, we're almost done. But no, there was still 50% to go. So, but I did want to see the finish of their story. So that's what this was. It's the same characters. Whereas I feel like a lot of like romance book series, it's just like a different friend in the friend group. This was the same characters, so you got to see them again. But yeah, both of those 2 stars. I also read Tashas Cowboy Caress, which is the 4th book in the Witness Protection Rancher Style series. I've read the first 3. Those were like the first books that got me into like reading romance when I was in like early high school, and they are clean as a whistle romance. They only kiss before they get married. I believe it's a Christian romance, honestly. Kimberly Cray, I don't know that about her, whether she writes Christian romance or not, but that's the feel that it gets. It was 2 stars, but again, I have reread, I think, the other books in this series like 3 times because I loved them. They're so nostalgic, and honestly, the writing's bad, but the storyline is just so cute and fun to me. I will read the next one when it comes out. I will continue to read them. So just because I gave it 2 stars doesn't mean I'm not gonna read the other ones. But honestly, unless you're really looking for like a clean Christian-y romance, I wouldn't recommend. But if that is what you're looking for, this could be a really good option. And it's like, I've been into my small town cowboy rancher era, as you're gonna see later on with a bunch of the books that I read. I've been into it. I read Chestnut Springs, I'm listening to country music, it's summertime, I want a horse. So this really fit into that, and so I wasn't mad about it, although I gave it 2 stars. So next we have The Box in the Woods, which is the 4th book in the Truly Devious series, and the first 3 follow the same mystery, and so it's the first 3 are all like more connected. This is in the series still. It has all the same characters and basically picks up where the 3rd book ended off, but you get a totally new mystery. They're at summer camp and they're solving a mystery at summer camp. I really like Stevie. I think she's an interesting main character, and I like the like mystery of it. It's, I wouldn't say thriller, but I wouldn't say cozy mystery. It's, I don't know how I would describe this. It's YA thriller because it is YA, so therefore it's not quite as like thrillery as an adult one would be, but it leans towards thriller. And I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked it. And there is another one out, which I think came out this year. So maybe that'll be on the future for me because I liked this one. I thought I was done with the series, but I picked this up and I enjoyed it. So who knows? Okay. Now we're getting into the books that I read in my 24-hour readathon, which if you have not watched, I will link, obviously. So I'm not going to talk about these too much because I talked about them a lot in that video. I read The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is a 5-star read. The first one in the series was 4 stars, and I had heard only good things about this, that it was better than the first one. So I had high hopes, and it did not disappoint. The third one in this series comes out later this year, and I'm very excited. If you're looking for like a YA fantasy, I would 100% suggest these. It's a good one. So, and the world is not too complex to understand. Sometimes I feel that way about fantasy books. Like reading too many of them, you're like, what is going on in this world? This one, it's not too complex to understand. So I recommend that. Next, also read during my 24-hour readathon is What Happens After Midnight by K.T. Walther. This was also 5 stars. I read 2 5-star reads in a row this month, which was shocking. This is set at a boarding school, and the main character, Lily, she's a senior, and she's kind of known as like a goody two-shoes, but she gets invited to help with the senior prank. And so this is her way of kind of rebelling, is being part of the senior prank, and that's it. All unfolds really over one night. Let's see if I can find a and they're putting out clues, so it's divided by clues and chapters, but then there's also before midnight. This is all what happens like during the night, and then this is after midnight. And I thought it was really cute how they separated the book like that. I had not at this point read The Summer of Broken Rules, also by her, and I liked this one so much it made me buy The Summer of Broken Rules, and I actually recently read that one, but we'll get to that in a second. So this was 5 stars. This is the last and final book that I read during my 24-hour readathon, which is The Late Mrs Willoughby. I talked about it there. This is a 3 stars. Yes, a 3 stars. It's a second in a series. It follows characters from Jane Austen, kind of mushes them together, and it's a murder mystery. So Miss Willoughby is obviously the person killed, as you can tell by the title, and it's Elizabeth and Darcy's son trying to solve this crime with the help of a girl named Juliet. So I recommend, if you're interested, if you like Jane Austen, these are a good, like, fun continuation kind of her stories. Okay, this is part of the video where I get really excited because I read the Gold Rush Ranch series, which is Elsie Silver's other series. She wrote Chestnut Springs, which I loved. It's a 5-star series. Honestly, all those books are good and I recommend. And so I actually read all of these on Kindle and then liked them so much I felt like I needed to have the physical copies. So I bought the physical copies of all of them. The order goes Off to the Races, A Photo Finish, The Front Runner, and then A False Start. They are all small town romances. Obviously, I don't know if you can tell, there's horses on the cover. It's all set on Gold Rush Ranch, which you can tell from the series, Gold Rush Ranch. It's a horse racing ranch. So the first one follows Billy, and she is a trainer and she comes to work at the ranch, and it's, I guess, enemies to lovers is how I would describe it, but really, like, how much of an enemy can you be, like, in real life? But it's enemies to lovers, small town enemies to lovers, set on a ranch. Very good. Oh wait, that was Off to the Races, was the one with Billy. Sorry. Then we have A Photo Finish, which follows Violet Eaton, who is the sister from all the Eatons in Chestnut Springs. And this series actually comes before the Chestnut Springs ones, although you don't need to read it before them. Just know this is Violet from the Edens of Chestnut Springs. And she is a jockey, and it is kind of age gap. I would say second chance. I don't know. This was an interesting one, and I'd never really seen like something like this, so I really thought it was different. And I liked it a lot. So this one was also 4 stars. Oh, then we have the front runner. This is about a vet that works at the ranch, and I would say this is also enemies to lovers. Fake dating, enemies to lovers are the tropes in this one. Small town, fake dating, enemies to lovers, love. And then finally, we have what I think might be my favorite in the series, and this is age gap, brother's best friends, second, I wouldn't say second chance, but kind of. Anyway, that is all of the Gold Rush Ranch books. All in all, these were 4-star reads, but it's a 5-star series. Like, truly reading the whole series as a complete collection makes it 5 stars. So, love these. In the midst of that, I was listening to a book on Audible, which was called Rules for Visiting. It was not normally what I would go for if I was actually reading, but it was a good book to listen to. It was interestingly set up. It was, I would say, literary fiction about a woman who is making an effort into her friendships and creating a life for herself outside of just work. It was interesting. It was not my normal thing. It was 2 stars. Next, we read A Spinster's Guide to Danger and Dukes. This is the 3rd, yes, in a series. I listened to the first one on audiobook, and I have the second one, so this is the 3rd one. I enjoyed it. It's like Bridgerton, murder mystery Bridgerton is how I would describe this. There's fake dating, fake fiancéing, fake betrothal. I don't know, but I would recommend. It was 3 stars. I read a lot of books like that because they're fun for me, and like the tension of something about like this time period. It's like, oh, they kissed. That is like the spiciest, most gasp-worthy thing, and I just think it's fun. I read that one, and then this is what we're getting to on vacation. I had started that one before vacation, and I finished it on the plane. Also on the plane, I read on my Kindle Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, and I'd heard kind of mixed things about this. It's a small book. It's like 300 pages, which is the right length, I think, for a romance like this. It is small town, brother's best friend. Like, I love Brother's Best Friend. It's such a good trope. It's a little bit age gap, but not really. And he's like the town bad boy, but like grown up. So he's still trying to escape that like preconceived notion that everyone in town has about him. And it's really good. She is a championship barrel racer who has this like trauma. Anyway, I thought it was really good. I've heard mixed things, but also the cover is so cute. So I felt like I had to have it in my collection solely for the cover, and it's a 4-star read. I did read it on my Kindle and then decided I wanted to buy the book. So there's that. And then the other ones I don't have with me, so we're just gonna show you the picture. I read Summer of '69 by Ellen Hildebrand. This is my first Ellen Hildebrand read, and I had it on my TBR for years and years. It had been on my TBR since 2019. So we finally read it, and I enjoyed it. It was not what I was expecting. It took me a little bit to get into it, but I honestly loved all the different point of views of like the women in the family, and seeing how they all thought everyone else was doing great. But when you got to see then their point of view, you were like, oh wait, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you don't realize. And this time period, the late 1960s, 1970s, like the Vietnam War, it's really interesting to me. And so for that reason, I gave it 4 stars. I thought when I first started, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be 3 stars, but the ending was really good, and it brought it up to 4 stars. So first Ellen Hildebrand book. I will pick up some other ones by her probably, because everyone loves her, and I enjoyed it. Next, we have The Summer of Broken Rules by Katie Walter. Like I said, I read What Happens After Midnight by her during my 24 reading challenge, and I loved it so much that I picked this one up. It was on Amazon Prime Day, so I got it for a good deal, and it was 4 stars. I purposefully brought books with me to Maine that were like set in the East Coast in New England during the summer. So that was Nantucket for Summer of '69, and then Summer of Broken Rules is set on Martha's Vineyard, and it was such a good vibe. Honestly, like those like New England beach towns where like people go year after year to like summer with their families. I love that. Give it to me. I eat that up. Also, I don't know if you've read another one that I love that has that same setting is We Were Liars. That is a good one. And I flew through that one. It's kind of short, really good. Same kind of setting. But anyway, this is the Summer of Broken Rules. Basically, they're getting the main character, Meredith. She is getting together with her family for a big family wedding, but it's the first time that they're going without her sister. And in honor of her sister, they play a giant game of assassin, which is basically, you know, like you have a name, you have to shoot someone with a water gun, then they give you their name, and it goes until you get to the last end. Anyway, she meets someone. It's a romance, but it's centered around this like family wedding and this giant game of assassin that they're playing. So it was 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Next, I did in fact read Divine Rivals. I had heard so many people talking about how good and amazing this book was. So obviously when something is hyped up like that, I'm almost more nervous to read it because what if it doesn't live up to the hype? I have such high expectations. But this one did. Sorry, I finished it yesterday, so that's why it's still kind of raw. The ending. I'm sorry. And also, there were so many things I was highlighting. Their love story is impeccable. And the setting, it's kind of modern-ish times. There's like trucks and stuff, like there's trains, there's cars, you know, like it's not like a normal fantasy book where you're like everyone's riding horseback and it's like whatever. The setting is interesting, but also really easy to pick up on. It's just like, oh, it's the world, but there's gods, and the gods are at war, and there's a love story. Divine Rivals, honestly, so good. I cannot wait for the second one. It comes out in December of this year, so I've already pre-ordered it. It'll be here. I'll be reading it in December. And then finally, my final book. Oh, did I say Divine Rivals was 5 stars? It was 5 stars. Finally, I read Call It What You Want. This is a debut novel by Alyssa Derogatis. It's very short. It was 220 pages. And it's basically the story of a situationship. This girl, she's in love with someone, but he can't give her what she wants. She keeps going back to him. And honestly, it's such like a honest story. It's an exact reflection of like the real world. It's not sugar-coated. It's not trying to be cute. It's literally just like, this is the world. This is what a lot of relationships look like. It doesn't really have a happy ending. But it is 4 stars. I think because she self-published it, it's her debut novel. Could have used there was a few mistakes I noticed as far as like could have used a little bit more editing, but I'm not gonna hold that against her because I've seen her on TikTok. She's like a young girl. She wrote this based on her experiences, and sorry, I ran out of time. It's a really poignant story. So I would recommend it, and it has a really cute cover. So that was 4 stars for me. And that is all of the books that I read in July. It was a lot. And I got a comment last month of like, are you even comprehending what you're reading? And I hate to say this, but I'm not reading to learn and expand my knowledge. Like, this is for fun. The girlies are just here to kick their feet and giggle and laugh. Like, I'm not here to, expand my knowledge. These aren't textbooks. Like, I read 20 books this month. around 20 books. That's a lot. Could I tell you every single detail of every single book? Maybe, honestly. Like, maybe not also. Like, I just gave you a summary. I can recommend them. Anyway, that's besides the point. I did read a lot this month, but I also had a horrific travel experience yesterday and was literally sitting on a plane for 9 hours. The same plane for 9 hours. Half the time we weren't even flying. We were just sitting on the tarmac. So I had a lot of time to read while I was on the plane. I finished the second 50% of Divine Rivals and started and finished Call It What You Want on the plane yesterday. So it was hellish. It was terrible. And then my bag didn't even make it here with me. It was a long night. And I got home at 3 a.m. So I slept in, and now we're getting ready for the week ahead. But I'm going to quickly run through the books that are tentatively on my TBR. I just got the full box set of The Throne of Glass and the new covers in the hardback. So my plan is to try and read these this year. So I am gonna start with the Assassin's Blade, which I know is kind of controversial whether you should start with this or just start with Throne of Glass and then read this later. But this is a prequel, so I'm gonna read it first, and then I'm gonna try and do Throne of Glass. I'm gonna try and read both of these this month. Depending, I might read more of the series, but this is what I'm aiming for, is these two. And then I have a few. Well, this is an old Book of the Month book from this time last year, Darling Girl. It's a novel about Peter Pan and Wendy. Well, Wendy's daughter. I don't know. I think it's fantasy-esque. We'll see. Obviously, it intrigued me enough to pick it for my Book of the Month last year, but I never read it. So we might get to this month. We'll see. And then I have One Italian Summer by Rebecca Cyril. This is short. I think it's not even 300 pages, which that's a win. And summer's almost over. So I want to read my summary books while the season is appropriate, because otherwise I'll have to wait until next year. So I'm going to try and read this month. And then I also have Fourth Wing. Again, as I said with Divine Rivals, when a book is so hyped up and everyone is talking about it, it makes me more nervous to read it. But I don't see how I could not like this. It seems right up my alley, and I'm excited about it. I love the premise in theory. So hopefully I enjoy this. Obviously I'll give you my thoughts at the end of the month. Next I have By a Thread by Lucy Score. I did not even talk about Rock Bottom Girl, which I also read last month. I completely skipped over it. I read Rock Bottom Girl last month and I gave it 3 stars. I've been reading a few of her books. This was on Amazon Prime Day for a deal. I got it cheap, and so I decided to pick it up because it is, some of my favorite booktubers have rated it 5 stars. So we have to see what the hype is about. So we'll see. Excited about that. And then last but not least, this is a repeat from last month's. TBR is Mary Kay Andrews, The Homewreckers. Again, I'm trying to read my summary books in the summer, so I want to get that one done next month. I read a lot of books that were on my TBR list last month, and I'm proud of myself. I'm really making a dent in my TBR pile, and it's making me excited. So I will be doing some book shopping. I also do have a Amazon wish list for books down below, linked below. So if you would like to help me grow my collection, you can. It's down below. But I'm sure this video is quite long and it needs to go up tomorrow. So I'm gonna end this video here so I can go and edit it tonight and get it up for y'all by the beginning of the month. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And follow me on all my socials, which will be linked down below. I have a bookstagram, and I post a lot more fun stuff on TikTok, all the things. So I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.